This episode contains discussions of depression, alcoholism, and animal abuse. Listen at your own discretion. It is Sunday, the 6th of October, 2024. My name is Pigeon and this is my song of the day. Today we're talking about another one of those artists who is now a band, but originally was just the stage name for someone's solo project. You know, you got your Foo Fighters, you got your Mountain Goats, you got all these people who started off just performing under a name and then became a band, some of them sooner than others. Today we're talking about Car Seat Headrest. Originally, that was the solo project of Will Toledo. His name is actually William Burns, but his stage name is Will Toledo, as well as Trait. He has a lot of stage names, don't worry about it. Anyway, he started releasing music as Car Seat Headrest after he graduated from high school. The first few albums were just called 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they just had a picture of a car seat's headrest. So it's clear he was just kind of like grabbing from whatever was around him. But then that remained as the name, as so often happens. And after releasing a few albums, he formed a full band and went on tour and started releasing albums with that band instead, but under the same name. The song we're talking about today is a song called Drunk Drivers, Killer Whales. And I think this was the first song by them I heard. I don't remember how I found Car Seat Headrest, honestly. I think my friend told me about them. But this has always been my favorite Car Seat Headrest song from the moment I heard it. I loved it so much. I still love it now. And it is a song that's stuck with me for so long. I love singing it to myself, and we'll get into... I mean, you'll understand because it's a hell of a song vocally. Will Toledo has a very specific style of singing that I very much enjoy. Anyway, there's also a single version, but I wouldn't recommend listening to that first because it's actually quite different to the album version. It's got a completely different ending from a different song. It's a whole thing. Anyway, we'll listen to the song now and then come back in a few minutes and talk about it. There it is. Drunk Drivers, Killer Whales. Speaking of songs that get you hyped up. Oh boy. My voice might sound a bit different right now because I sang along to the whole thing and that last bit takes it out of you, let me tell you. So, what is this song about? Well, Will Toledo says it's about post-party melancholia, wishing to either be a better person or care less about the whole deal. Going home alone in poor condition. The Killer Whales bit is inspired by Blackfish, which is a depressing film. That's what he says. So, let's go right into the lyrics, shall we? In the backseat of my heart, my love tells me I'm a mess. I couldn't get the car to start. I left my keys somewhere in the mess. It comes and goes in plateaus. 1 month later, I'm a fucking pro. My parents would be proud or fall asleep on the floor. Forget what happened in the morning. There are notes in your handwriting, but you can't make it out. So, the car is a recurring image in this because, it's called Drunk Drivers, but it feels metaphorical at the same time. It feels both literal and metaphorical because he does call it post-party melancholia and talking about going home alone in poor condition. So you can't imagine someone literally driving home drunk from a party, but it calls to mind other things. And so in the backseat of my heart is immediately using a car term to refer to someone's heart, right? My love tells me I'm a mess. I couldn't get the car to start. I left my keys somewhere in the mess. So on the one hand, that sounds like drunk people, being scatterbrained, not knowing where they left the keys. I couldn't get the car to start. So it's like, if the car is his heart, she says he's a mess and he can't get the car to start. Like, it makes his heart skip a beat or it upsets him in some way because his love tells him he's a mess. Do you get what I'm saying? And then it comes and goes in plateaus. 1 month later, I'm a fucking pro. I don't know what it is supposed to be here. You could say it's a lot of things, but it sounds like it just means like having it together, My parents would be proud or fall asleep on the floor, forget what happened in the morning. So again, being drunk, not remembering what happens in the morning. There are notes in your handwriting, but you can't make it out. You should be able to recognize your own handwriting, of course. But if you can't, it speaks to either how messy it is because you were drunk or just how much you drank that you don't remember, right? And so the whole thing feels like it's using being drunk as a metaphor for just generally being lost in your life, not knowing what you're doing, not knowing where you're going, And so not being able to recognize notes in your handwriting makes it feel like you don't even, you get yourself into a situation, you're like, why did I even do this? Why am I even here? I don't know why. I know I made the decision, but I don't know why I made the decision, We are not a proud race. It's not a race at all. We're just trying. I'm only trying to get home. Drunk drivers, drunk drivers. This is not a good thing. I don't mean to rationalize or try and explain it away. It's not okay. Drunk drivers, drunk drivers. So that first line is a funny double meaning. We're not a proud race. It's not a race at all. So race being like humans or Americans or whatever you want to say. He is 1/4 Mexican, by the way. It's not a race at all, right? So it's not a race like one would do in a car. It's an interesting double meaning there. Saying like humans are not a proud race, but it's not a race at all. We're not competing. We're just trying. I'm only trying to get home. So that makes it sound like getting home, apart from getting home when you're drunk, is also like getting to a more stable place when you're feeling unstable, right? right? And then drunk drivers, drunk drivers. This is not a good thing. I don't mean to rationalize or try and explain it away. It's not okay. So he kind of insists that even though he's using drunk drivers as this central image, he's saying that that's not a good thing to do. You shouldn't do that. And even the single art for this song is just a sign that says, please don't drink and drive. So he's very clear to specify that he is talking about this within the context of the song and within a metaphor, and you shouldn't do that in real life. It's too late to articulate it, that empty feeling. You share the same fate as the people you hate. You build yourself up against others' feelings, and it left you feeling empty as a car coasting downhill. I have become such a negative person who is all just an act, who is also easily stripped away. But if we learned how to live like this, maybe we can learn how to start again, like a child who's never done wrong, who hasn't taken that first step. So I love this bit so much. It's probably my favorite part of the song, apart from the ending. It's too late to articulate it, that empty feeling. So that empty feeling of feeling lost, feeling purposeless, you know. You share the same fate as the people you hate is a really interesting line as well. You build yourself up against others' feelings. So like, you know, trying to make yourself, you know, compare yourself to others ends up backfiring because you're just comparing yourself to others and you should be working on yourself, and it leaves you feeling empty as a car coasting downhill. I love that bit, and it's a potent metaphor, right? Feeling empty as a car coasting downhill, just drifting. The only reason it's moving is gravity, you know? The only reason it is going in that direction is because it is going in that direction. That's a great metaphor for someone in life, like someone who gets stuck in a dead-end job or stuck in a town they don't want to live in. It's like, well, why are you still there? Well, because I'm still there. I still work here because I still work here, you know? And that's kind of what this feeling is. I have become such a negative person is such a plain, honest line in the middle there. It was all just an act. It was also easily stripped away, you know, kind of building up this outer shell that's meaningless and not like you at all. But if we learned how to live like this, maybe we can learn how to start again, right? So he's saying, like, if we were able to build up this destructive shell, we can strip it back too. We can start again. Like a child who's never done wrong, who hasn't taken that first step, you know, beginning again like a child, trying to start completely afresh. Then we get the second chorus, which has the same first few lines, but then it goes to put it out of your mind and perish the thought. There's no comfort in responsibility. Drunk drivers, drunk drivers. So put it out of your mind and perish the thought is kind of like it's helping him. He's trying to convince himself to stop thinking about the fact that he's going to be drink driving. But then there's no comfort in responsibility is a really interesting line, because he's saying taking responsibility for your actions is not comforting. And so it's like his drunkenness telling him, don't be worried about drink driving. Don't be worried about the consequences, because there's no comfort in that. And it kind of speaks to the traps you get stuck in with depression, where your brain tries to trick you into not doing things that'll help because it wants you to stay trapped, right? That's what depression is. It's a trap. And then we get the big Killer Whales chorus. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. Killer whales, killer whales. It's so interesting. So, Will Toledo referenced Blackfish. Blackfish is a documentary about a killer whale called Tilikum who was held at SeaWorld, and it caused the death of 3 people. And the whole documentary is like, it's about captive orcas, and it particularly focuses on that one orca, like I mentioned. And it's an interesting thing to kind of invoke here, because it's talking about how these creatures are taken out of their environment and they will sometimes end up killing humans because they're in captivity and they don't know what to do and they want to escape. And so the chorus here of it doesn't have to be like this killer whales is kind of saying, like, this is a created scenario. These people didn't have to die because you didn't need to capture this fucking orca. And it's interesting to introduce it into the song here as kind of saying, like, you're a killer whale. You're an orca in captivity and you need to break free because otherwise you're going to end up killing someone. Do you get what I mean? It's like talking about breaking free of the situation you've been put in against your will. It doesn't have to be like this. You're not an orca. It actually reminds me of one of my poems about blobfish, but that's a story for another time. Here's that voice in your head giving you shit again, but you know he loves you and he doesn't mean to cause you pain. Please listen to him. It's not too late. Turn off the engine, get out of the car and start to walk. Drunk drivers, drunk drivers, drunk drivers, drunk drivers. And then we just get the killer whales part, and then it ends with him just screaming, whales, ah, yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, I love this whole final section because I love this whole song is perfectly structured. It starts off a cappella with a filter on the voice of just in the backseat of my heart, and then there's like a rising little like kind of synth keyboard note. And then when it comes and goes in plateaus starts, there's drums, there's guitar, there's bass. And then We Are Not a Predator is quite quiet. And then when it gets into the verse, you get the guitar and drums a bit again. And then when it explodes into the Killer Whales part, it's all, it doesn't have to be like this. And it's like a full-on rock song. And then it gets quiet again for the here's that voice in your head part. And then it ramps up again into the bridge with the drunk drivers. It really builds up and then it explodes back into it doesn't have to be like this. I love the way the song is structured. It has such good rises and falls, you know. So in this part, here's that voice in your head giving you shit again. You know, the voice in your head, the devil on your shoulder, but you know he loves you. He doesn't mean to cause you pain. Please listen to him. It's not too late. It's more like an angel on the shoulder, really. It's that the voice of reason in your head saying, don't drink and drive. Don't stay in the situation. You can do better. You can be better. It's not too late. Turn off the engine, get out of the car and start to walk. I love that as the kind of call to action here. You don't have to be a drunk driver. You don't have to be another statistic. You can get out of the car and start to walk. And then it goes back into the Killer Whales chorus. Oh, I love this song so much. I love the video too. There's like a lyric video. And during most of the song, there's footage of a car driving late at night. It's just like from the view of the bonnet, so all you see is the road. And then during the Killer Whales parts, it's footage of an ocean. I thought it was taken by a helicopter, but it moves too consistently. I think it's more likely like off the top of a boat or something. And you see the ocean. And then during the last chorus, he keeps switching between the two as he's doing the whales. Oh, I love belting this song out. This is why my voice sounds a bit weaker in this episode, because I was screaming that last part. It's so fucking good. I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this one. I love it so much. I hope you do too. I encourage you to listen to other Car Seat Headrest stuff. I frankly haven't listened to enough of his work. I need to go back and listen to the re-recording of Twin Fantasy, because I've only listened to the original. And I've listened to the most recent album as well. Anyway, that's the end of this week. Next week, we are finally doing a themed week again. Specifically themed on the video game Life is Strange. Now, why am I doing that? Life is Strange is a episodic video game from 2015 that features a lot of indie songs in prominent moments in the game. And so I'm going to be talking about different songs from the soundtrack next week. I will try to keep spoilers to a minimum, but I'll also probably have to spoil specific scenes to talk about specific things to do with those songs. But anyway, that's an issue for next week. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. Please hit like, hit subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. Tell other people about this show. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
Break it down.
Again, this empty feeling, this feeling of being lost, feeling purposeful, feeling purposeless. Yeah, purposeless. Why is that a hard word to say? You know, the only reason it is going in that direction is because it is going in that direction. The most remarkable thing about you standing in the doorway is that it's you and you're standing in the doorway. Hold on, I need to sneeze. I'm going to pause. Anyway.
Imaginal disc.